我上个月不是接了一批铜的订单吗？
Last month, I took an order for a batch of copper parts. I've already bought all the materials. It cost tens of thousands, and everything has been cut, ground, washed, and engraved. It's not finished yet, but today the customer messaged me and said the delivery might be delayed. After customs clearance, the taxes have gone up too much. A TikToker who works as a bulk trade supplier shared in his video the huge pressure he's under after the sudden increase in US tariffs.
订单量5000多万美金，今年我们订单已经排到了26年的5月份。
Our orders are worth over 50 million US dollars. This year, we're already booked through May 2026. But with this 30% tariff hike, the impact on us is huge. If you're a small startup, it's not such a big deal because you don't ship enough to fill an entire container. But for us, it hits hard. Our profit margins in bulk trading are already razor thin. Now with a 34% tariff, it's like getting knocked to the ground.
He said the only thing he can do for now is wait. His backup plan is to ship through third-party warehouses in other countries. That's the only way forward. On April 7th, the owner of a clothing factory posted a video saying the entire foreign trade apparel industry in China is filled with anxiety.
现在做外贸单的
Everyone doing foreign trade now is nervous. A 50% tariff is just scary. Who's going to place orders under these conditions? Sure, some clothing businesses are still busy, but it's hard to make money anymore. US orders only make up part of our business, but there are so many clothing factories in China. If we all turn to Europe and there's no US orders, then think about it. Won't competition at home become even worse? Domestic sales are also weak this year. People just don't have money to spend, so how can this market possibly improve?
On April 2nd, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a new round of global-based tariffs, raising rates on dozens of countries. At the time of the announcement, the actual tariff rate for China stood at 34%.
在现行适用关税税率基础上加征34%关税。
In response, the Chinese Communist Party announced on April 4th that it would impose a matching 34% tariff on all goods imported from the U.S. Trump then warned that he may raise tariffs on China by another 50%. The CCP responded by saying it's ready to fight to the end. While the Chinese government is showing a tough stance, many businesses in China are already feeling the pain. On April 7th, a TikToker filmed a clothing factory that had shut down and said the clothing industry is in serious trouble. All the machines in his factory are about to stop. He said this year is going to be incredibly tough. That same day, another TikToker posted a similar scene, workers moving goods around inside a clothing factory. He wrote that as soon as the U.S. swung its tariff hammer, the impact finally hit the apparel industry. His factory originally had orders scheduled through the end of July, but now over 6,000 down jackets have been put on hold, and their ready-to-ship products are piling up in the warehouse. He said both offline and online sales are struggling this year. Even live stream selling isn't working anymore. With sluggish consumer demand and weak domestic sales, the foreign trade slowdown is pushing more exporters into the domestic market, creating even more excess production. He said this year's apparel industry is like a pressure cooker that could blow at any moment. This isn't just panic, it's worse than during the pandemic. Many clothing business owners may lose everything they've built over a lifetime.
People seeing anybody seeing potential war with China.
Another TikToker showed the current situation.
You know, it's bad. It's bad when they're saying that it's worse than the pandemic. It's bad when they're saying it's worse than the pandemic. Now, how can you compare something like this? Oh, shucks, what's this? Damn it. How can you compare something like this to the pandemic? Because it's hitting them hard where their factories are closing. So because it's very reminiscent of how we experienced the pandemic, it is why they're saying it's worse than the pandemic, because their factories have no reprieve. This is not like a financial situation where the government can help them out. This is of the government's doing. Rather than them saying, hey, let us work together to figure this out, they're saying, oh, we're going to hit you back with a higher tariff. And we know that Donald Trump don't play. I mean, you test him and he's going to show you that he has muscles, and his muscles are going to pan out because the US market is a huge market for China and the rest of the world. We are a nation of consumers, right? More so than producers. And China produce a lot of goods, a lot of textile, clothing, a lot of eggs, a lot of foods, so many things that we in the world consume. China is pretty much laying their footwork across the globe, and America is the biggest market for China. And now this is happening. Let's continue.
Situation at his factory. Because of the tariff hike, orders have been delayed or cancelled. Now his packaging and printing factory doesn't even have boxes to make. All he can do now is clean the factory. A TikToker shared a video saying that after the US increased tariffs, the impact on China's foreign trade is obvious. He mentioned that when he flies, there are hardly any Westerners on the plane, mostly people from Africa. Also, when entering the US, Chinese people face especially strict security checks.
现在我在白云机场。
I'm at Guangzhou Baiyun Airport right now, and the flight is about to take off. This tariff increase is really affecting China. If you look around, you can see there are almost no white faces here, mostly African brothers. This shows how tough the foreign trade situation is right now.
Yeah, because they're expecting to see the faces that spend the money. That's what it's about, the faces that spend the money.
Went through customs, they saw my yellow skin and Chinese passport and gave me a hard time. They asked about every little detail. Why I'm here, who I'm visiting, where I'm staying, how long I'll be, and what business I'm doing. Traveling abroad is already hard, and now people like me in foreign trade have to face Trump's 54% tariff hike and random checks.
On April 6, a female owner of a laser cutting factory, Liu Ting, posted a video saying that manufacturing in China is going to get even harder, and she plans to sell off her 30,000 watt equipment.
是的，你们没有听错，我可能要把去年4月份买的大幅的激光要准备出掉了。
Yes, you heard me right. I might have to sell the laser equipment I bought last April. I don't need to explain. You can probably guess why. The economic environment is bad, and the trade war has already started. Soon, all manufacturing businesses, especially small ones, will face bankruptcy. This is not an exaggeration. It's the reality. She also said that starting this month, all manufacturing businesses in China will face an unprecedented winter. More and more companies will go bankrupt, lay off workers, and downsize. Many manufacturing owners will end up with insufficient funds and will not survive. Cases in banks, law firms, and courts will pile up. The TikToker estimates that all manufacturing business owners are currently in an anxious, confused, and helpless state. Particularly for factories that relied on foreign trade orders, the shrinking foreign demand and declining domestic demand are making it difficult. Many small business owners can't sleep because of worries and fear. They're afraid all the years of hard work will go to waste. They fear they won't be able to pay employee wages or cover rent and utilities. The TikToker revealed that with electricity costs for her equipment already reaching her limit, she has decided to sell her 30,000 watt laser equipment. On April 8th, a TikToker from Zhejiang shared a video saying that she suddenly realized the US tariff increase has also severely impacted non-exporting manufacturers.
浙江这边的厂，这个关税加上去之后。
How big of an impact has the tariff increase had on local factories in Zhejiang? I run a small factory and don't deal with foreign trade, so I'm not sure how much it would affect me. But I've noticed that my upstream suppliers who export raw materials haven't received any orders for a long time. Not even one container has shipped out. When they can't get orders, they try to switch to domestic sales. Now people at their factories are still working non-stop, running around to try to make domestic sales. So when they get involved in the domestic market, doesn't that just drag the domestic factories into it too? Everyone's getting caught in the spiral, and in the end, we'll all collapse together. The impact is really huge, and some people probably haven't realized it yet. Whether it's the impact on their foreign trade or on our factories that don't deal with foreign trade, it's all very significant. On April 7th, a TikToker from Foshan visited a newly built factory district and recorded footage of the vacant and neglected factory buildings.
你看这一排排啊。
He said, "Look at these factories that were just built last year. Now I can't even find a single person. There are no cars."
It looked like a ghost town. A ghost town. Look, there is nothing, no one there. There aren't even any cars in the parking lot. This looks like a ghost town. Ooh. Crazy.
Cars or people on the road. Some of these factories are single-story and others have multiple floors. The landlords spent nearly 1 billion yuan to build these. Just a few years ago, these beautiful buildings were all leased out by middlemen. You had to wait in line to rent a factory space. But now, there isn't a single customer coming to view the space. The new factory buildings behind me haven't even been renovated yet because the landlords are afraid of spending money if no one rents them. With the manufacturing industry in decline, every industry is struggling.
He recalled that some Chinese companies moved to Southeast Asia to avoid the US-China trade war a few years ago. Now, this new wave of tariffs is a heavy blow to those companies because some countries have even higher tariffs than China. He questioned where these companies should go next: stay in Southeast Asia, move back to China, or shift to Africa. On April 7th, Ms. Gong, a manager of a Bluetooth headphone export company in Guangzhou, told Radio Free Asia that most companies in Guangdong that used to trade with the US have stopped accepting orders due to tariff barriers. She said, "I had dinner with people from the industry yesterday, and they told me that they used to export products from Vietnam to the US. Now most of those orders have stopped. They're not taking new orders. They're just waiting to see how serious the situation will get. Right now, we know that foreign trade companies in Guangzhou and Guangdong are temporarily not accepting orders." Ms. Gong also mentioned that a Hong Kong company near her recently moved its factory to Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and is currently hiring Vietnamese locals. However, the sudden increase in U.S. tariffs has put the factory in a difficult position. She said they just built the factory in Vietnam, and now they're about to start operations. But now the U.S. has increased tariffs by 46% on Vietnam, so it's impossible to avoid.
Wow. 46% on Vietnam. Everybody's feeling this.
The high tax rates. The investment they made earlier is now wasted. According to Trump's announced plans, the U.S. will implement differentiated tariffs on different countries and regions, with China at 34%, the EU at 20%, Taiwan at 32%, Vietnam at 46%, Switzerland at 31%, the UK and Brazil at 10%, and Japan, South Korea, and India at 24%. Additionally, Trump announced a minimum 10% tariff on all goods entering the U.S. However, on April 7th, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent stated that nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the U.S. to discuss negotiations on Trump's latest tariff policy. He revealed that President Trump will personally participate in the talks to secure the best bargaining position for the U.S. Many Southeast Asian countries, including Vietnam, Indonesia, Thailand, the Philippines, and Malaysia, have expressed willingness to make adjustments and negotiate with the U.S. Despite Vietnam's proactive efforts to reduce U.S. import tariffs, the White House refused to offer reciprocal concessions, citing non-tariff cheating. U.S. trade advisor Peter Navarro recently said that Vietnam's issue lies in non-tariff methods, such as Chinese products being exported via Vietnam and the theft of U.S. intellectual property. His comments highlighted that the Trump administration not only sees tariffs as a tool to resolve trade imbalances, but is also trying to prevent country of origin laundering and reshape global manufacturing and supply chains. On April 6, a TikToker who runs a granulator production factory posted a video saying that due to the U.S. tariff policy, her factory has been working overtime to meet the demand from orders from Southeast Asia.
今天工厂假期第2天，我们公司所有的人员都被
Today is the second day of our holiday, but all our staff have been urgently called back to the factory to work overtime because of the tariff increase. Last night, our Southeast Asian customers called, asking us to hurry up and produce and ship. The boss said we should prioritize foreign orders. The big factories we work with are also working non-stop. I don't know what's going to happen next. Do you understand what this means? Some viewers commented under the video, saying, "Once these orders are done, there won't be any more orders. This is the last deal." This is the final flurry before the factory shuts down, rushing to finish orders overnight, then pulling out when the business ends. After the US announced the 34% tariff increase on Chinese goods, the People's Daily published a series of articles over 3 days, strongly criticizing the US's unilateral abuse of reciprocal tariffs, while stating the sky will not fall. However, it's clear that Chinese industry is feeling pessimistic. Reports from Chinese media indicate that Chinese manufacturers, foreign trade businesses, third-party intermediaries, and U.S. buyers are all struggling in this tariff battle. Some are reworking their costs overnight and engaging in price wars. Others are changing product specifications and shipping methods, while some are rushing to fulfill orders in an attempt to minimize losses before the new tariffs take effect. One foreign trade owner said, "No matter what, with these tariff hikes, the biggest losers are the business people."
They're terrified. Everybody is terrified. So with the tariff that's on Vietnam, what I suspect is happening is that China is circumventing the tariffs, assuming that their tariffs are higher than that of Vietnam. So they're going to route their products through Vietnam and then to the United States, or maybe through Vietnam through a country like maybe Canada, and then to the United States to alleviate the tariff. However they're going to do it, or however they're trying to do it, it's being monitored and quashed. So, or in legal term, quash, so that they can't use any alternatives to get their products and circumvent the tariffs that President Donald Trump has set out. He's trying to equalize what's going on with China and America, because China have been really getting away with using the United States, to bolster their economy. And now that they've bolstered their economy, they're now saying, hey, we are the big dogs too. We're on equal footing. And because we're on equal footing, you can't do this to us, but we can do this to you. So imagine you're going somewhere. Let's say you're going out with a friend. You have this one particular friend that every time you and this friend gets together, you will open up your pocketbooks and you will spend. And that person will always say, hey, I don't have enough money. Or they'll say they're short this time. And then you'll be generous and you'll go ahead and you'll spend, right? And then you notice that this person that's saying that they have no money is somehow able to acquire things that need money to be acquired. And then you start wondering, am I being scammed? Am I being taken advantage of? This is what America has been going through for centuries. No, sorry, for decades. And Trump is trying to equalize that now. But the Chinese are playing hardball because they think that they have the footing over their strongest money bag. We are the money bag, and they want the money. And rather than them come into the table and say, hey, let's negotiate and come to some equal, a fair understanding, they said, okay, we've been getting away with tariffs for a long time. We charge you this amount, United States, but you can't charge us more than this amount. So the balance is like this. China, tariffs is that. United States tariff is this. So what Donald Trump is trying to do is equalize that. Some equilibrium between the United States and Canada. Number one and number two. And China is playing hardball. So this is where we are. Tariffs just mean tax war. If you look up the word tariffs or tariff, you'll notice that it is a synonym to the word tax. So it's a tax war that's going on, and China's playing hardball, and everybody else is coming to the table and say, hey, United States, you're the biggest economy, and we need your money because your people consume a lot. So everyone else, many others are calling and trying to negotiate, but China is saying, no, We are equal like you, United States, and we're going to put her foot down. And you want to hike up those tariffs to 34%. And so we're going to hike it up to 50%. You want to hike it up to 100%. We're going to hike it up to 100. However, this war that's going on, this tariff, this tax war that's going on, something is going to give. Something has to give in order for this to be equalized. So stay tuned, stay put, stay seated. Don't fall out of your seat. Don't get scared. It's the process that's going through. Some things are going to be a little bit higher in prices. Some things are going to be a little bit low in prices. But think about it. Before, when we had eggs that were like $3 for a dozen, in some places more, things are beginning to equalize. Hopefully, it's equalized enough over some period, hopefully not too far, closer, like right now, in the next couple of weeks, maybe a month or so, hopefully, and then we can be back to normal. Let's see what happens. Let's continue with the video.
Mr. Zhu, an e-commerce entrepreneur from Jiangsu, told Radio Free Asia that the U.S.'s high tariffs on China will lead to the collapse of many e-commerce businesses. He said, "We are definitely affected. The impact is huge, and there's basically no profit left. We just can't keep doing business. Many e-commerce businesses in Jiangsu and Guangdong can't operate anymore. Everyone's in poverty now. The time of hunger and instability is coming. Just the other day, I met an elderly man in his 80s who was cursing the leaders, saying they've ruined this country. Our foreign policy is surrounded on all sides, and no country is engaging with China normally anymore." Veteran media figure Mr. Ge believes that the differences between China and the U.S. are not just about tariffs, and that Trump's tariff hikes are aimed at countries around the world. He points out that China's trade surplus with the U.S. nearly reached $300 billion last year, something President Trump greatly dislikes. He added that U.S.-Vietnam trade can be resolved through negotiations between the leaders of the countries, including lowering tariffs on Vietnamese products entering the U.S. But this is not the case for China. He said, "In comparison, the trade war is definitely more disadvantageous for China because China depends heavily on the U.S. market. The U.S. itself is a huge market. The key issue is that after China made the first move, no other countries followed, which is probably the most troublesome problem for China. If Vietnam successfully negotiates with the U.S. and benefits from it, it will attract many other countries to follow suit and negotiate as well." The People's Daily, the CCP's official paper, warned in a commentary that the U.S.'s actions will ultimately lead to a self-destructive cycle for the U.S. Australian scholar Li Yuanhua stated that while the U.S. will temporarily be affected, American society's ability to withstand shocks is relatively greater than China's. He said, "If life in China were to regress decades, could the Chinese people endure it? Can the CCP handle the growing public discontent? The CCP doesn't have many cards to play. When it collapses, it will likely not be in a rational way, and it won't be due to a desire to solve problems." In a rare move, there has been criticism within China against the CCP's countermeasures against the U.S.
Guys, do you see? Do you understand what was just said here? The United States economy can withstand this war, this tariff war. The sustainability of the United States dollar is far more resilient than that of China. So even though that they want to play the games, yeah, they're multi-trillion-dollar company or country, right? Play around with that, right? Multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar country, they can, of course, flex their muscle, but can they withstand? Because they are a nation of production, factory upon factory upon factories everywhere in China. So if they can't produce for their biggest consumer, they are up Schitt's Creek, right? They'll be paddling up a river, right? Going up a river without any paddle. That's how I should have said it first. Going up a river without any paddle. So let's see how much resilient that they have. Maybe they can negotiate with other nations, but They need America because other nations want America. Other nation needs America to be able to sustain their economy. For instance, we've been subsidizing Canada for a very, very long time. This is why Donald Trump is saying Canada should become the 51st state of the United States. Many people are in agreement with that. What do you guys say? Put that in the comments, right? But I do believe that they have to figure out something soon, real quickly. Let's continue.
He Bin, former deputy director of the Public Policy Research Center at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, recently posted on social media. He said the CCP's countermeasures are entirely wrong. He made a comparison. The tariffs are like, if you hit your wife, I'll hit my wife. He further pointed out.
Yeah, that's the game they're playing. Tit for tat. You hit my wife, I'll hit your wife. Tit for tat. Let's see what's going to happen.
The U.S. raising tariffs is like shooting yourself in the foot, and we should not shoot ourselves in the foot as well. He believes the correct countermeasure strategy is not to retaliate tit for tat, but to adopt a policy of comprehensive economic openness, implementing unilateral zero tariffs on all imported goods from other countries. Chinese economist Fu Peng believes that Trump's reciprocal tariffs are like a buyer gathering supplies for negotiation. If suppliers refuse to negotiate, it's like abandoning their chance to bid, which will exclude them from the supply chain. Fu Peng's comments are suspected to have been deleted. Chinese financial website Yi Cai cited analysis from Gao Ruidong, chief economist at Everbright Securities. He said that the current China-US trade friction is gradually extending into the fields of technology and finance. If negotiations continue to be blocked, the decoupling in these areas could further intensify. By May or June, the decoupling of technology and finance between China and the U.S. could resonate with the tariff policies, amplifying pressure on capital markets.